Welcome, my friends, to the show. Let me take down our music here. Welcome, one and all, to this Tuesday night edition of the Indoctrination, where we expose the indoctrination um, for all it is and for all it was meant to be, to deceive us into being less than the incredible species that we are. We have an inordinate amount of potential, of ability, of smarts, of cognitive critical thinking that has been destroyed by the indoctrination. Education nation, vaccination nation, medication nation, incarceration nation. It just across the board, we have been lied to about every single thing that we could possibly put our finger on. It has been done behind our backs because any such pure propaganda that is blatant in its form will be called out by any cognitive thinker, any intelligent individual. However, first they get us to trust the very mechanisms which lie to us, which deceive us. And that trust, they use our compassion, our intention, our beliefs, the things that we fight for, and they twist those and they use those, knowing how amazingly compassionate we are as a species. And they deceive us across the board. And they harm us physically, dumb us down. They weaken us with the food, with the water, with the air that we breathe, with the soil. They poison us with the food that we eat, with the drinks that we drink. They poison our minds with entertainment that is not just meant to entertain, however, but to form and establish and create in our minds a narrative that we should agree with if we are indeed compassionate human beings. There was a great rift in the force this past week, which is why I have not been with you since last Friday. Was it Friday or Thursday? I don't even remember. I think it was Thursday because I think I found out Friday morning. Sergeant Brendan James Petrie, by now you all know, was a friend of mine, been on the show 3 times, was going to be on the show many more times as long as I had any say in it whatsoever. Certainly. And we spoke a week ago on the weekend. He was with his 3 boys that he had just fought to get half visitation with. I'm using the wrong word, but to be able to raise his children half the time. And his wife was trying to leave the city. She had a job elsewhere, and she was fighting to get full control over the children. He was a good father. She cheated on him, is why they had to get a divorce. And he was a veteran. He's a Marine, once a Marine, always a Marine, Semper Fi, my friend. And we were excited to meet each other because we'd talked many times. We'd done 3 shows together, and, so we scheduled Wednesday for a meetup in Austin. He was gonna drive an hour and a half, to meet me in Austin, and, I was working on my new place, my lease, and I was a little overwhelmed because of the move and everything, and I asked to postpone it a week. He said, "Sure, I look forward to it." Any day, Monday through Wednesday, because he was gonna be without his children. So, it was very difficult for me to find out Friday morning that he had been shot Wednesday night, the very night that we were going to get together. And, and that's been a tough one for me to reconcile because if he had come to Austin, he might not have even been in Killeen at that hour with that schedule that he had on that day, that he shifted because we were not gonna be getting lunch. We put things like that off if we're busy, don't we? We're assuming that we're gonna have more time. We assume that we're, of course, gonna be able to push it to next week. And, that is a regret that I now have, and I'm not taking any responsibility for what happened, but just understand that it digs a little deeper, hurts a little more to know how excited I was and how excited he was to finally meet face to face after having many, many conversations where we just connected on so many levels. And, and he's gone. Um, the most we know, and I haven't looked into it today, but the most we know is that he was going to, he was working with Doc Chambers, who is, I believe, has 11% of the vote versus Abbott's 80% so far in the Texas Republican primary, which is a real shame because Doc Chambers raised 400,000, spent 200,000, and Abbott supposedly raised 48 million and spent 80 million. And so it was very so he was working with Dr. Chambers and he was trying to make this world a better place. And I am grateful for the time that he and I had together. I'm grateful for the time for meeting Julie Donuts through him, for having um, the talks that we had with Sir Oliver, um, and this was his profile page on X, which is what he mostly focused on, and he was no stranger to putting his beliefs on his sleeve. And here is Doc Pete Chambers for governor that this veteran shared with everybody. We're trying to figure out if this is the man that killed him, um, and that is Sir Oliver and I've been going back and forth on that. And I'm going to share this with you because I would like to know your thoughts on the matter. Um, but I had sent Sir Oliver these pictures, and we were back and forth on, who it was. And supposedly, this man that has been arrested, there was an argument at 10 something, like 10:15, and this is the man who supposedly shot and killed um, Brandon James Petrie. And I've done some research on this man, and it turns out he is a Marine. He was, from what I could gather, he was not deployed, but he came from 29 Palms in California, and 29 Palms has a higher than average rate of PTSD among its soldiers due to its isolation and due to the hazing that they do. Think, what do you call it? Think A Few Good Men and the hazing that led to the death of a service member. And this is what Sir Oliver put together. The bags under the eyes on this gentleman could have been a bad night's sleep, but the eyes um, are pretty convincing that this might be him. And this is somebody that Sarge shot with quite a bit and was with that morning and supposedly was going to be with again that night. Um, in this training range, I believe he owned the property. So um, James was 35. He had 3 boys. I believe the ages were, here's a couple of them. Um, and and I believe he was I don't think he was taken out for nefarious reasons. I've gone down that road with a couple people. Like, is this political? Is it because he was, in Doc Chambers' camp? And I don't think that was the case at all. Here's his 3 boys. Um, and he was very happy to have this new lease on life. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. Jeremiah 29:11. That's from Sir Oliver. But these are the 2 pictures that we're trying to line up and see if this is the same person. Um, and it's kind of difficult, but some adjustment there. What are your thoughts, folks? Um, let's see. Thank you, Edward. I appreciate you, brother. um, yeah, please share this out and support this Truthcast, my friends. Eclectic Dawn, I just retired from U.S. Marine Corps civilian service, 17 years at 29 Palms, California. I now live in North Carolina. Dawn, what would you say about my thoughts on 29 Palms? Um, let's see. Yeah, so this is um, this is a difficult show, my friends, that we are engaged in, and it's certainly, um, I believe, and I've said this many times on the show, that the reason why um, Q said enjoy the show 100 times was because of the fact that um, Q knew it was going to be a very difficult show, a very bad show for a lot of people for a long time. And so enjoy the show. And the only person that would tell you to enjoy the show over and over and over again is one that thinks that you're going to think the show is shit, but wait till the end. And I feel that we're getting closer to the end. Um, yeah. So, Polar bear pause. It's hard to swallow sometimes, but no one leaves before their time. I know this well, but I'm still having trouble swallowing this one. Sergeant was the bomb in the best ways. Absolutely. Yeah, Doc needs to win, but I don't know if it's going to happen. Uh, Thank you, Mary. Appreciate that. Trump posted that Abbott won. Um, we don't know the ex-wife. I would think in the situation that they were in is, the wife is always a suspect until proven otherwise. Um, let's see. Did they find you who did this, Dave? Yeah. So I just showed him. Yeah. Um, so certainly an obvious suspect, but I'm not making any judgments on that, not knowing near anything enough about it. Eclectic Dawn, 29 Palms, gone downhill, very desolate, business left. I supported training Marines, but started feeling bad with nothing for Marines to do. Um, yeah, yeah. So sad. So glad he knew Jesus. He's in heaven now, praying for his family, friends, and especially for Petrie's sons. Yes, thank you. Um, so we won't be having this amazing individual on the show again. And that really sucks. And that really sucks. And hopefully, his memory will live on, certainly in his children and his ex, in hopefully a better way than it was. And in all the people that knew him and were touched by him. So rest in peace. I'm sorry. It's piercing my soul, this story, this news, this man. Um, and it's thrown me quite a bit. But I'm here and I can move forward in this fight that he would want us to continue into. So, welcome one and all. And yeah, he was so appreciated for what he brought to the show. Such a great combo. Yeah. Yeah. The GoFundMe has his wife's pick on it. She's putting it together, I think, for his ceremony on Monday, which I plan on going to. Um, okay, Sir Oliver posted the guy was booked on murder charges. Thank you for that. All right, so God bless you, James, and here we go. We dive into the fight which you so courageously weathered um, through very difficult times. Um, this is interesting. This is, I think, we're watching a show. I believe real people were having real problems during this show. I believe that I'm not surprised that Greg Abbott has 80% of the vote because he had 80% of the money, even more than that. But much of that money was gifted to him outside the state and also from a very wealthy is Islamic man who has, you know, flooded this nation, this state with mosques. And we actually had on the ballot today, and I voted, and Jasper voted. I didn't, but he was there. I got to tell you that story too about voting. I'll tell it when we get into this. But um, the um, the thing I wanted to say about what's happening in California, they're stealing the vote. What's happening here in Texas, I believe they're stealing the vote. I believe there's much more corruption that still hasn't been unveiled. But listen to this. News here on the primary election. We've just spoken. I've got a better idea. Let me find some volume and ask. With Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins, who tells us that voting is now Okay, let me try that again. Let me try. There was no sound on that. Um, well, let me take you to this story. Dallas police arrested a man who was outside a Ken Paxton event because he's running for senator. And let me take you to that story while I look for this other one. He had a lot of ammunition in the car. He had a bulletproof vest on, and possibly was going to do something. So, um, so at any rate, yeah, Islam is taking over Texas. That's why we need Doc Chambers, who, by the way, is as many of you guys already know. I went to his event 2 days after James was killed, and I posted on X here, and this is Doc Pete Chambers. This is him, I think, on day 27 of a fast. I may be off by that, but this was the button I got, and met he and his lovely fiance and his um, right hand, Lydia, and then I reposted the show that I did with Doc. I'm sorry, with James about Doc and about Texas, and that was this here. And this show has over
We'll talk about it.
20,000 views. We are not seeing the actions of a president that is beholden to Klaus Schwab.
Correct.
So it was good to meet Doc and to hear about his vision for Texas, which is going to look into he's literally going to take fighter jets and take down chemtrail planes and find out what they're spreading. He mentioned that. He is very pro Second Amendment, First Amendment. He is pro life. He is a man of God. He is against people paying property taxes, even though their children are not in school. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Amazing outcomes. I appreciate that. It's good to be here. So, so here's what happened, and so I'm in the voting booth, which are not booths at all, right? They're just like these little dividers. They're these cheapies. We used to vote. We used to pull back the curtain, go in, pull the curtain, like we were changing our clothes, right? And so I came in. It was very cordial, thanking the ladies for being there, and I am voting, and I have on my phone, I have my notes about the candidates and the issues, right? So I'm looking and I'm voting, and this woman comes up right here in my face. She's like, "No, no, no, no." She puts her hands like that close to my face. She says, "No, no, you cannot have a phone in here. This is against the rules." And I said, "First of all, get out of my face." So she pulled her hands back, and I said, "This is supposed to be private. You shouldn't even be talking to me right now." And she said, "Let me get the guy over," and she called over the head of the voting precinct, and he came over, And he said, "Yeah, you can't have a phone." I said, "This is my private space for voting." I said, "She shouldn't even be able to see me, much less interrupt my voting, nor should you be able to interrupt my voting. Um, and I should be, behind a curtain, and this is a private thing." And I said, "The problem isn't with me having connection to the internet. The problem is these machines having a connection to the internet." And he said, "Well, these aren't connected to the internet." And I said, "Yeah, that's what they said about 2020 and 2022." I said, "But that's how we got stuck with Joe Biden, and that kind of shut him up." And I said, he said, "Well, it is a law. You can't have your phone or whatever." And I said, "If you have your phone, then we have to change the whole system here, the whole setup here." And I said, "You already did, because I used to be behind a curtain, and and I should be able to pick my nose while I'm voting if I want to, and nobody can see me." And I said, "So you've already changed it, okay? And you have, taken away our privacy, and I don't want to be interrupted again." He said, "Okay, you're already voting, but go ahead and continue." And then on my way out, I stopped by her and I said, "Listen, I know you're just doing what you're supposed to." And she said, "Well, thank you for saying that." And I said, "And I appreciate you doing, being here." And then on the way out, I shook his hand. I said, "Listen, I appreciate you." And um, you know, so it was all good. But that was my experience, right? Um, and Yeah, we're not supposed to be, and I said, "This is 2026, dude. I have my notes on my phone." She even said, "Well, what we do is we give you the brochure and the whole thing or whatever, and or the ballot." And I said, "Yeah, that's not how I roll." So, um, no one bothered you? Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Um, they have extended the polling hours in Fort Worth for Democrats voting, and they've done the same in yeah, Dallas, Fort Worth, right? Maggie, I had my notes and I had the same thing happen to me. I had my iPhone too, and she came and yelled at me. Um, yeah, we have the curtain type machines here in our precinct. Yeah. Yeah, notes in the phone. I mean, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. So at any rate, oh, by the way, yeah, full exposure of Abbott coming soon because we're awake. We're awake, right? So yeah, Jasper was with me. He was in the car, and and that was cool to have him. And let me see if I've got this. So Polar Bear Paws says, "Never has a phone been a problem here, North Carolina. By the before, always have mine and take a pic of my ballot with it." Yeah. Yeah, they also said don't bring in a gun. I don't remember the phone. There's so many signs out front of what not to do that it's like, unbelievable. Yeah, we were shielded before. Yeah. It was a paper ballot that was printed by a machine, and then it was scanned by a machine. Yeah. Um, yeah. So, all right. So, at any rate, back to the news. So, believe me, I wanted to come to you this weekend because we went to war, and I haven't been with you since we went to war with Iran. So, obviously, I want to be with you, but I was really struggling. And when I spent some quality time with my family, and I'm moving, as you know. That's very, very involved because I'm doing it myself. I'm getting some help from friends, but I don't have movers showing up, throwing it all in a truck, and I'll see you at the other end. That ain't happening. So, but we've been at war, and so Half truths. Art of silence is the most powerful tones for the human mind. It will put your kids to sleep. It is wonderful, isn't it? By Unique, the art of silence. I love it. Um, I was hoping to hear Jasper lift his leg on the way out. That's funny. That's funny. Um, so I think exposing Abbott wouldn't turn people to Dem candidate. I think it would be more about exposing all the Republicans and all the Democrats, because what's happening here is unbelievable. So let's talk about Iran. First of all, it's pretty incredible the actions that have been taken so far. Oh, so that story that I couldn't get sound on. I've got sound on now, I think. Here we go. Let me share that before I go to the war. Here we go.
News here on the primary election. We've just spoken with Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins, who tells us that voting is now extended until 9 p.m. for Democrats
in Dallas County.
In Dallas County, okay. So that's the latest word from County Judge Clay Jenkins. We're getting confirmation on that, but right now it looks like voting for Democrats in Dallas County extended until 9 p.m. Republicans,
7 p.m.
the cutoff is still 7 p.m. as far as we know.
Yeah, we'll keep you posted on that. All right.
So this is the indoctrination, my friends. There was no pushback. There was no question by these people as to, how does that? It was too low. Yeah, sorry about that. So basically, he said a Dallas judge has said that the cutoff for Democrats voting is 9 p.m. in Dallas, but it's still 7 p.m. for Republicans. And he flat out said that, and she just nodded along and said, "Okay, we'll keep you posted on that." Nobody pulled, nobody's questioning it. Nobody's questioning it whatsoever. It's absolutely insane. So sorry about the audio was from the original that didn't have audio. That's why I thought it wasn't going on. Now, Texas AG Ken Paxton is projected to beat John Cornyn, which is really good because, he's the attorney general in Texas, and now he'll be a senator, and we'll get rid of Cornyn, and that'll be a really, really good thing for Texas, without question. Let's see.
Resilient.
This is Jasmine Crockett talking. I'm going to go down the election hole here just a minute before we get to the war.
All Red has already stated. We encourage each and every one of you to remain resilient. We cannot allow this type of behavior to be rewarded, because so long as they know that they can win, even if it means cheating, then they will continue to do it. So I am asking you, I am begging you to make sure that you go ahead and figure out where it is that you are supposed to vote. Stand in line, wait in line. All Red has already stated.
And we'll see if we can keep the polls open for you a bit longer, right? Absolutely ridiculous what's going on here in Texas. It's tragic what's going on. So this was 2 hours ago. I'm going to shift from the elections. I'm going to go to the war. This was 2 hours ago by Nick Sorter.
With this breaking news, an Iranian missile we have just hit the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. With this breaking news, an Iranian missile we have just learned has hit the largest U.S. military base in the Middle East. Now, this news is just coming into CNN. Here's what we know this very moment. Qatar says an Iranian ballistic missile has struck Al Udeid Air Base, as I said, the biggest American base in the region. We don't know much more. No casualties reported as of yet. Again, we don't know what we don't know, but we do know they are saying it was a ballistic missile. It's obviously a significant development. And as that is coming in, we are learning that the CIA is also working in Tel Aviv with this breaking news. An Iranian missile we have just learned has hit the largest.
So they knew that they were going to hit there, and that's why I believe they evacuated that that base, right? Um, yeah, wasn't he an impressive human? What an impressive young man. It's just so. If you want to see, the thing is that Manny says if you want to prove the electoral system is corrupt, you need to catch them in the act. I worked out a long time ago. There are no elections, just selections. You know, Manny, when we find out the truth of our electoral system, our election system, people are going to be livid as to the corruption. Now, the good news is, Manny, I don't know if you're Q, but we do Q here. We have it all. The white hats have said we have it all. And it's they've already got the indictments. There's over 600,000 sealed indictments. They just need to be unsealed, and we need to see the work that has already been done against these people. Um, the so But that's all coming out, and that's why Trump is posting so much about the election integrity and all that. Um, Brandon Gill has won in Texas. Let's see, won the Republican primary. Here we go.
A deliberate policy to influence our elections, even at the expense of American families. An attempt to flood our country with illegal aliens, to distort congressional representation, to provide a pathway for them to vote, all part of a political program that was not just deeply cynical, but absolutely grotesque. The left's open borders were, I think, most stingingly a part of a deliberate policy to influence our elections, even at the expense of American families.
So this is now mainstream. This discussion years ago was just from people like me and you that knew that we had corrupt elections. This is now in the mainstream. This is now in the mainstream vernacular, and the evidence is being released a little by little by little. That is going to bring just mainstream awareness to this problem. Yeah, exactly. Plenty's already out. You need to read between the lines in the executive orders from 2018, 2020. Yes, absolutely. 13818, 13848, the election, the foreign interference. And so, getting back to the war, and I went to this because the war is about our elections. I want you to understand that. The CIA has had a lot of control over North Korea and over Iran. They brokered the weapons deal of uranium one to 20% of our uranium that went out of the country against what we were promised it would do with Russia. And then that uranium was sent to Iran and North Korea. And Q has walked us through all of that. And and also Barack Obama giving all that money to Iran. Some of that, we believe, went to North Korea as well. So, so this is President Trump's post, a repost of Brendan Dilley of the Dilley Show and the Dilley meme team. We have two options Deport every single third world migrant, illegal alien, and America hating visa holder, or surrender your nation the way the United Kingdom have and watch your society collapse in the coming years. Congratulations to Brendan for getting a repost from President Trump and all the work that you're doing. And this is very obvious to us, right? Very obvious. Q is real. Q is very real. But this is what they say, right? This is what they say. This is going to, yeah, the moon, by the way, folks, get out and check out the moon. It is awesome. I actually set an alarm for 5 o'clock this morning to get up and look at the blood moon. And it was completely overcast here in west of Austin, so I couldn't see it, but it was just a beautiful full moon that we have right now. Congressman Brian Babin won the election here in Texas. Randy Weber won. The French Hill wins. So Trump is all these people he's endorsed: Brandon Gill, Roger Williams, Beth Van Duyn, Trevor Nels, Pete Sessions, Monica De La Cruz, endorsed by Ronnie Jackson, endorsed by President Trump, Craig Goldman, endorsed by President Trump, August Pfluger, endorsed by President Trump, Lance Gooden, Pat Fallon, Keith Self, Nathaniel Moran, Dustin Burrows, Dan Patrick, Greg Abbott, Tim Moore, Rick Crawford, Steve Womack, Bruce Westerman, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Arkansas, Tom Cotton, Arkansas, right? Brad Knott, North Carolina, Chuck Edwards, Pat Harrigan, Richard Hudson, all endorsed by President Trump, Mark Harris, David Rouser, Addison McDowell, Virginia Fox, Greg Murphy, Michael Watley. Got to give credit where credit is due. President Trump and his administration have delivered on his campaign promise to make America the crypto capital of the world. This has already driven major benefits to American citizens and companies, a complete inverse from the prior administration. So taking a shift away from the elections. But here's the thing about Abbott. If President Trump endorsed him, certainly President Trump, kind of also picks the winning horse a lot of times, but also depends on their numbers. But trust me that Abbott is going to do the will of the Texas people, because we are awake and we have the backing of Trump. And I think it's going to be a very different Greg Abbott going forward. Now, especially now that his contacts with Islamic donations has hit the surface, I think that's going to be a very, very significant character arc, if you will, right? So this was the Islamic regime is getting pounded right now. This was 2 hours ago. Secretary Rubio said they're about to release Chang on the RGC. Well, I guess this is Chang, and this is the what we're seeing here. I'm still. Wow. Um, pretty intense. So what's in Iran is going to absolutely expose Barack Hussein Obama and that money that was sent to him. Um, and this is an incredible speech that I want to share with you here in a moment. And this is Staff Sergeant David Bellavia. This was in 2019.
And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters.
Boom. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters. And speaking of which, we are involved in a U.S. operation in Ecuador together with Ecuadorian forces right now. United States Southern Command. This is the bombing of the IRGC headquarters in Iran that we were able to get footage of. Yeah, I would not want to mess with the United States of America's military. Um, this is interesting. This is from Paul Fleuret. I want to share this post. I thought it was very good. We've been looking for 11.3. What is 11.3?
Sean, can be brought to 90%. That's weapons grade, in roughly 1 week, maybe 10 days at the outside. The 20% can be brought to weapons grade inside of 3 to 4 weeks. And let me say this, because I forgot this small little detail. In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly, with no shame, that they controlled 460 kilograms of 60%, and they're aware that that could make 11 nuclear bombs, and that was the beginning of their negotiating stance. So they were proud of it. They were proud that they had evaded all sorts of oversight protocols to get to a place where they could deliver 11 nuclear bombs.
So 11 nuclear bombs in 3 weeks. 0 hours said Iran had enough material to make 11 nukes in 3 weeks. Trump saved lives. They don't need to share classified information, but they are now. You should say thank you, unpatriotic bastards, ungrateful vermin. Same bunch, never trust the president. I no longer will bother with any of you again, talking about those who are very critical about President Trump. Post 26, think about it logically. The only way is the military fully controlled save and spread once 11.3 verifies as first marker. Biggest advance drop on Post Online. That's Paul Fleuret sharing that. I'm going to share that on my timeline so you can do the same. And an American Warrior for Christ said, before you start belly aching over this cleric, read this. Ali Khamenei had properties in Venezuela, Syria, Dubai, the United Kingdom, and other countries, including Spain, where he owned hotels in Madrid, Marbella, and Palma de Mallorca. All assets were regularly used by his children. His fortune is estimated at 200 billion. Islam, like communism, is a total scam. And so what I believe what is being released is very, very important in our election system, in knowing the corruption of President Barack Obama, also renegade. I believe there's a lot of files that are coming from Iran that are going to take him down. Yeah, more about the Ayatollah. Let's dig in a little bit. Drew Pavlo. Today I decided to download the Ayatollah Khamenei's Manual of Islamic Law, the Tahrir al-Wasila, page 229, volume 3. Intercourse with a woman is not allowed unless she attains the age of 9 years. Regardless whether the marriage is permanent or temporary. There is, however, no objection in other sexual enjoyments like touching lasciviously, hugging, and rubbing the thighs, even with a suckling infant. This is a very demented way of thinking, and they wrap it in religion in order to justify it. This must not continue. Also, from Paul Fleuret, I want to play this little clip right here. Here we go.
Any questions, please?
Mr. President, did Israel force your hand to launch these strikes against Iran? Did Netanyahu pull the United States into this war?
No, I might have forced their hand.
Okay. Now, I have told you on this program that President Trump is not beholden to Israel, and that he has taken out their two most important methods of controlling humanity. One is the mainstream media. He calls them fake news and has totally exposed them and destroyed them and sued them and won. And the banking structure, the central banking, which he is doing away with here in the United States of America, owned by the Rothschilds. This is all the Israeli control over our system. All right. Also showing the corruption. We're much more aware of AIPAC now, CARE, the Islam infiltration, the Jewish infiltration. So for him to say this is, for me, just par for the course.
You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that. And we have great negotiators, great people that do this very successfully and have done it all their lives very successful. And based on the way the negotiation was going, I think they were going to attack first. And I didn't want that to happen. So if anything, I might have forced Israel's hand. But Israel was ready and we were ready. And we've had a very, very powerful impact because virtually everything they have has been knocked out now. Any questions?
So very important. Now, Paul Fleuret goes on to say Israel was literally the second country shown in the capitulation tour video. Under the headline, Israel submitted. Do we really believe POTUS has shared this video 4 times unless he is telling us something? Here it is. We are witnessing the destruction of the old guard. Saudi Arabia submitted. He had the sword dance. Highest Saudi honor. That was the first. Yahoo, Israel. From the Vatican. The EU. NATO. Who pushes a world leader aside like that? Unless you're the man. CIA control. Dayton, Forbidden City. Look at their leaders now, Bolsonaro and Millet. And they walk up the stage, Canada, Germany, Queen. The Prince, now King. Being rocked by the Mendelssohn walking in front of the Queen. Walking in front of the Queen. Where we go one, we go all. Folks, 4 times President Trump reposted that video. Why would he do that? Has POTUS ever said something that turned out to be untrue? No. No. He's just doing the things that he is meant to do, right? By the way, Dan Crenshaw, Eye Patch Dan, lost his race to Steve Toth in the Texas 2nd Congressional District. So President Trump shows this, and Israel was the second one shown. And I've been telling you this for years, that we're saving Israel for last, but Israel will face consequences for their actions, for their behavior. But how did all those nations capitulate? How did they all roll over for Trump? Why did the elections go in the favor of Trump-like candidates? Because we have it all. We have it all. And that's what Q told us. That's what we're seeing. We're not going back, my friends. We are not going back ever again. Let me play a little bit of Jesse. President Trump said, everything has been knocked out. The next 24 hours will be intense as U.S. Central Command targets key sites without apology or hesitation. Reports say the CIA might be arming the Kurds to use as boots on the ground in Iran. Let me share this with you here.
Operation Epic Fury is taking a serious toll on the mullahs. Trump says the Iranians want to talk, but it's too late.
They have no Navy. It's been knocked out. They have no Air Force. It's been knocked out. They have no air detection. That's been knocked out. Their radar has been knocked out. And just about everything's been knocked out.
1,000 Iranian fighters have also been knocked out. And that doesn't include the Ayatollah and his lieutenants. Earlier today, the remnants of the regime were holding a vote to pick the next supreme leader when the meeting ended early due to an Israeli missile. The president says the damage was substantial and a third wave of attack is in the works.
Do you have someone in mind right now? Because you said all the people you did have in mind have been taken out. What do you think?
Well, most of the people we had in mind are dead. So, we had some in mind from that group that is dead. And now we have another group. They may be dead also, based on reports. So I guess you have a third wave coming in. Pretty soon we're not going to know anybody.
The response from Tehran's been a mix of short-range missiles and cheap drones thrown haphazardly at our allies. U.S. Central Command's hunting down their launchers, taking them out one by one without apology or hesitation. The second they fire off a missile, we know exactly where it comes from and can take out the launch pad. Today, another Iranian drone struck near a U.S. consulate in Dubai. Thankfully, no injuries. And a CIA station at our embassy in Saudi Arabia has just been hit. Small amount of damage, no casualties. But the Saudis now say a line's been crossed. Sources believe the kingdom is very close to deploying its own air force to join the fight. Soon, the Saudis will be flying sorties with the Israelis. Think about that. The entire Mideast is united against this terroristic regime. Sources tell us the next 24 hours is going to be intense. Rubio was on Capitol Hill today saying, get ready.
You're about to see, we're going to unleash Chang on these people in the next few hours and days. You're going to really begin to perceive a change in the scope and in the intensity of these attacks as, frankly, the two most powerful air forces in the world take apart this terroristic regime and defang it.
the Arab world's united, and now the Islamic Republic doesn't stand much of a chance. Trump's even been on the phone with the Kurds. We might be able to arm them and use them as boots on the ground. Europe, on the other hand, needs to be better.
And now Spain actually said that we can't use their bases, and that's all right. We could use their base if we want. We could just fly in and use it. Nobody's going to tell us not to use it, but we don't have to. But they were unfriendly, so we're going to cut off all trade with Spain. We don't want anything to do with Spain. I'm not happy with the UK either. This is not Winston Churchill that we're dealing with.
Now we know why we can't rely on NATO for Greenland. They won't let us use their bases to fight the #1 state sponsor of terror. The United States is doing the world a favor, and the administration says it was now or never.
Listen, let me explain to you guys this in simple English, okay? Iran is run by lunatics, religious fanatic lunatics. They have an ambition to have nuclear weapons. They intend to develop those nuclear weapons behind a program of missiles and drones and terrorism that the world will not be able to touch them for fear of those things. And this is the weakest they've ever been. Now is the time to go after them.
Trump's top negotiator, Steve Witkoff, says the Iranians walked up to the negotiating table dangerously cocky.
In that first meeting, both the Iranian negotiators said to us directly, with no shame, that they controlled 460 kilograms of 60%, and they're aware that that could make 11 nuclear bombs, and that was the beginning of their negotiating stance. So they were proud of it. They were proud that they had evaded all sorts of oversight protocols to get to a place where they could deliver 11 nuclear bombs.
The president said the United States needed to shoot first.
You see, we were having negotiations with these lunatics, and it was my opinion that they were going to attack first. They were going to attack. If we didn't do it, they were going to attack first. I felt strongly about that.
The White House says these are the objectives. Don't wait for Iran to get a nuke. Nuclear blackmail, no fun. And they might even launch first. Their ballistic missiles needed to go. They can already reach Europe. And in a few years, they could reach New York. Obama gave the Iranians the money to build the missiles they're shooting at us right now. What a disgrace. Their Navy must be eliminated so they can't choke off oil flows and jack up prices and cause inflation. Their terror proxies, Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, have done too much damage. And the Chinese have been financing the Iranian military and buying their cheap sanctioned oil at a discount. That ends now. Iran and Venezuela, that would make 2 petro-dictatorships we flipped. They're proxies of Russia and China. And now we control most of the world oil market and kicked the Chinese and Russians out of the Middle East. Beijing and Moscow haven't lifted a finger to help their ally in Tehran. The whole world sees that. And all the Chinese missile defense batteries they sold to mullahs, we took them out on day 1. Made in China, you get what you pay for. This war is going well. It's ahead of schedule, but it's early. In the short term, high oil prices are going to make things a little more expensive. But Trump's promising to ensure shipping through the straits and directing the Navy to escort oil tankers to keep energy flowing. The Trump administration is basically now the new Lloyds of London. So buckle up. Now we have full control of the skies. Iranian missile launches have gone from about 100 a day to now just 20. The U.S. Air Force has just begun significant bombing runs targeting every inch of the regime's military and political infrastructure. B-52s currently conducting a shock and awe campaign over the Iranian capital, targeting Republican Guard command and control nodes, as well as weapons depots and missile assembly facilities. We pray for our service members putting their lives on the line and hope that Operation Epic Fury continues to be a success.
So, my friends, Epic Fury, right? I just want to take you to the Q drops, and I want to pull up Fury. This is the one that really stands out to me. It's post 34, November 1st, 2017, and it is Q Clearance Patriot. My fellow Americans, over the course of the next several days, you will undoubtedly realize that we are taking back our great country, the land of the free, from the evil tyrants that wish to do us harm and destroy the last remaining refuge of shining light. On POTUS's order, we have initiated certain fail-safes that shall safeguard the public from the primary fallout, which is slated to occur 11/3 upon the arrest announcement of Mr. Podesta, actionable 11/4. Confirmation to the public of, and 11/3 and 11/4, by the way, are the Law of War manual dealing with foreign occupation. Confirmation of what is occurring will then be revealed and will not be openly accepted. Public riots are being organized in serious numbers in an effort to prevent the arrest and capture of more senior public officials. Now, we've seen the demonstrations against the war being drowned out by, Iranians and Israelis and Middle Easterners celebrating what President Trump has done. Those who really know what's going on are celebrating it. On POTUS's order, a state of temporary military control will be actioned and special ops carried out. False leaks have been made to retain several within the confines of the United States to prevent extradition and special operator necessity. Rest assured, the safety and well-being of every man, woman, and child of this country is being exhausted in full. However, the atmosphere within the country will unfortunately be divided, as so many have fallen for the corrupt and evil narrative that has long been broadcast. Look to some of the terrorist attacks, like in Austin the other night, when a man wearing an Iranian flag shirt underneath a sweatshirt that said "Property of Allah" shot through the windows of a bar on 6th Street in Austin, just as it was letting out or close to letting out time, and then took out with a handgun and took out a rifle and did even more damage. So we will be initiating the emergency broadcast system, EMS, during this time in an effort to provide a direct message avoiding the fake news to all citizens. Organizations and or people that wish to do us harm during this time will be met with swift fury. Certain laws have been pre-lifted to provide our great military the necessary authority to handle and conduct these operations at home and abroad. And where are we now? We are abroad. Are we not? Okay. Patty said Julian's rum against President Trump now. Julian's rum has been one of my apologies, my friends. I kicked myself out of the studio. Julian's Rum was one of my favorite accounts on X, Q Patriot, and now he's turned against President Trump, which is very, very disappointing. But we've seen it with a lot of different people, haven't we? Quite a bit, right? Yeah, folks, if you want to support this work that I do, I ask you to please do so. You can write to me at 1554 Dripping Springs, Texas 78620. If you prefer to do things through the mail, and please also get your name on the fourth wheel of the year spin for a free year of Snedheads or the Rubicon.com and a t-shirt. This is the donation information that you can use. And I ask you to please support independent media because we are in desperate need of it. Okay. Yeah, saw where Julian's rum hated on POTUS today, Robin. Yeah, that was very disappointing. Excuse me. So now let's do let's I want to take you to Tom Cotton here. This is a very interesting interview.
Iran targeted these Arab countries. They didn't plead for peace. They didn't ask Donald Trump to stop. They asked Donald Trump for targeting information so they could join in the strikes in Iran. That's what a real coalition looks like. We're all now fighting together to try to finally eliminate the threat that a revolutionary Iran poses to the United States, to our Arab friends, and to Israel.
And I think the chancellor.
Iran targeted these Arab countries. They didn't plead for peace.
So they're actually asking to get involved, right? President Trump fulfilled the requirement of the War Powers Act, notifying Congress about the war against Iran. The law requires this report within 48 hours. Trump always follows the letter of the law. This was March 2nd, writing to the Congress. The military action taken against the government of Iran. I've separately notified you of changes in the global posture of the forces. I previously communicated to the Congress, Iran remains one of the largest, if not the largest, state sponsors of terrorism in the world, despite the success of Operation Midnight Hammer, which took out some of their nukes. The Iranian regime continues to seek the means to possess and employ nuclear weapons. Its array of ballistic, cruise, anti-ship, and other missiles pose a direct threat to and are attacking United States forces, commercial vessels, and civilians, as well as those of our allies and partners. Despite my administration's repeated efforts to achieve a diplomatic solution to Iran's malign behavior, the threat to the United States and its allies and partners became untenable. Accordingly, and at my direction, on February 28, 2026, the United States forces conducted precision strikes against numerous targets within Iran, including ballistic missile sites, maritime mining capabilities, air defenses, and command and control capabilities. These strikes were undertaken to protect the United States forces in the region, protect the U.S. homeland, advance vital U.S. national interests, including ensuring the free flow of maritime commerce through the Strait of Hormuz, and in collective self-defense of our regional allies, including Israel. No United States ground forces were used in these strikes, and the mission was planned and executed in a manner designed to minimize civilian casualties, deter future attacks, and neutralize Iran's malign activities. Although the U.S. Desires a quick and enduring peace, it is not possible at this time to know the full scope and duration of military operations that may be necessary. As such, U.S. forces remain postured to take further action as necessary and appropriate to address further threats and attacks upon the United States or its allies and partners, and ensure the government of the Islamic Republic of Iran ceases being a threat to the U.S., its allies, and the international community. I directed this military action consistent with my responsibility to protect Americans and U.S. interests, both at home and abroad. There's those words, at home and abroad, which were in Q Clearance Patriot, which we were taken to by the actual name of this operation, which is Epic Fury. I direct, let's see, at home and abroad and in furtherance of the United States national security and foreign policy interests. I acted pursuant to my constitutional authority as Commander-in-Chief and Chief Executive to conduct the United States foreign relations. I am providing this report as part of my efforts to keep the Congress fully informed, consistent with the War Powers Resolution. I appreciate the support of the Congress in these actions. So he's taking care of it, right? He's making sure that this is all good, that this is all dialed in, that all his T's are crossed, all his I's are dotted. That is, that's how he rolls. And anybody that is against this, what he's doing over there is clearly compromised. And so this isn't being widely reported, but President Trump stuns the world by bringing the leader of the Benghazi attack to America. Will there finally be justice for what Hillary Clinton did? So while we're taking down Iran and are going to be exposing Barack Obama, they're also taking out the leader of the Benghazi attack, and we're going to find out what he knows and how Hillary Clinton sold weapons to them with Christopher, and Christopher Stevens was sent in to take them back. This is the largest air forces in the world. If you haven't seen this, I want to share this with you. This is Iran 550 aircraft, UAE 563, Algeria 608, Israel 617, Germany 621, Brazil 630, number of military aircraft, Greece 632, UK 667, Italy 815, Saudi Arabia 916, North Korea 951, France 972, Turkey 1069, Egypt 1080, South Korea 1158, Pakistan 1426, Japan 1442, India 2261, China 3305, Russia 4,212, and there's the U.S. 14,489. Israel, I'm sorry, Iran never stood a chance. Israel wouldn't either, but I believe that's going to be done very differently, very differently. Let me take you to, this is kind of cool, the Azeri Times. If a pilot is shot down, which has happened, Kuwaiti forces, American pilots reportedly shot down over Kuwait were carrying a bloodshed, a survival message sewn inside their jackets. Written in English, Arabic, Turkish, Persian, and Kurdish, it reads, "I am an American, and I do not speak your language. I will do you no harm. Please give me food, water, shelter, clothing, and a doctor. Help me reach America or friendly forces. When you provide my name and this number to U.S. authorities, you will be rewarded." How interesting, right? You will be rewarded. So they're definitely trying to excuse me one sec. I got distracted there for just a moment. But they're telling people you'll be rewarded if you take care of our people, and that's what President Trump is doing. No, that was I showed you that already. My apologies. Let me take you back to that was him. If anything, I forced their hand, meaning Israel. Ken Paxton, it sounds like, and John Cornyn are going to have to do a runoff. And this clown, Al Green, Mr. Kane, U.S. Representative Al Green is in serious trouble, trailing his Democrat primary challenger by about 5 points with an estimated 68% reporting. That's in the Democrat primary. So we'll see what happens to him, but we would miss him in Congress. This is part of the problem in Texas. Kaylee Campbell says, for those asking how it's possible that Muslims are getting interest-free home loans in Texas, Grok says, yes, Sharia-compliant interest-free home financing exists in Texas through UIF Corp., University Bank subsidiary, Plano office. They use Musharaka, co-own the property with you, your down payment, and their financing share. You make monthly payments equals rent on their share of their profit and buyout to acquire full ownership over 10 to 30 years. No loan or RIBA, profit rate set by market to cover costs, inflation, operations, competitive with conventional, open to qualified buyers, faith-based but not restricted. Details at myuif.com. And we go there, and it looks like it's pretty basic. My faith, my finances, my UIF. Helps you understand the principles behind Sharia-compliant financing so you can make confident decisions that support both your goals and your beliefs. They have vehicle, construction, deposit, commercial, home, my family, my home. So, yeah, unbelievable. This is I'm sorry. I wanted to show you that. I thought I had that up for you. Um, Privacy is freedom, my friends, and so please join us over on Snedheads. You'll be glad you did. Snedheads.com, soon to be the Rubicon.com, and please join us over there. It's free to join, but it costs money to post and interact, and that keeps the bots out and keeps it a really, really powerful platform. Go from being a small fish in a sea of surveillance to being a big fish in a small town, a small pond. The Iran Watcher is telling us that these are the numbers that we're seeing. We are already seeing a clear day-to-day decline in launches by the Islamic Republic, signaling rapid degradation of its strike capacity. Ballistic missiles launched by the Islamic Republic over the first 4 days. Day 1, 350. Day 2, 175. Day 3, 120. Day 4, 50. The identification and targeting of their launchers and supporting infrastructure have significantly degraded and constrained their operational capability. That's pretty awesome when you think about those numbers and how they're declining, and how that is going to benefit us. Let's see. The Texas A&M campus in Qatar was shut down, locks down after Qatar shoots down Iranian bombers. 330 undergraduate students and 10 graduate are currently enrolled at the Qatar campus. 8 of the undergraduate students are U.S. citizens. Of the 75 faculty and staff at the campus, 30 are Americans. When the conflict began, 28 students who were en route from Texas to Doha were diverted to Istanbul. So this is, certainly affecting, many things around the world, but also making us second guess what's actually happening. Now, this was very, very important. Now, what's been happening is that the tankers, they closed down the Strait of Hormuz. This is where, a majority of the oil travels around the world. Certainly 20% to China. By the way, somebody said China is not getting involved with Iran. Russia's not getting involved with Iran. Spain wouldn't let us use the airports or the runways to attack them. And Trump ceased all trade with Spain immediately. You don't mess with him. You don't mess with the United States. And so what happened was the Lloyd's of London, which is an insurance company, would no longer insure tankers going through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this is Nick Sorter. He announced that effective immediately, the U.S. Navy will escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as Iran threatens to close it. No matter what, the U.S. will ensure a free flow of energy to the world. U.S. economic and military might is the greatest on earth. And he said, effective immediately, I have ordered the United States Development Finance Corporation to provide at a very reasonable price political risk insurance and guarantees for the financial security of all maritime trade, especially energy, traveling through the Gulf. This will be available to all shipping lines. If necessary, the United States Navy will begin escorting tankers through the Strait of Hormuz as soon as possible. No matter what, the U.S. will ensure the free flow of energy to the world. The United States economic and military might is the greatest on earth. More actions to come. Thank you for your attention in this matter. President Donald J. Trump. Okay. How about that? So he's basically bypassing the insurance companies, not only in healthcare here in the United States, but with major happenings in the Middle East by this this very corrupt system that is trying to block all those particular traveling and shipping. Let's see. I'm going to take you to okay, so here it is. I'm going to take us to, I'm going to do a dive on that post because of the sheer amount of capital letters. Okay. So we're going to go to Snetheads. We're going to go down to research Q drops. We're going to go to the capital letter counter and we're going to paste in, excuse me. Number of capital letters is 1115. We'll go to the drop, Q drops, and we'll go to 115. And we'll also go to 511. And let me also take the timestamp, which is 2:37 p.m., which is also 37, sorry. 1437. Okay. Double check that with the drop, 237, 1437, and the 115. So let's go to 115 first. And I haven't done this dive. This is a live dive I'm doing with you. Based on the amount of capital letters I saw, we see this map of Manila, coordinates Japanese restaurant. One of the Anons says, Jesus effing Christ. It's a Japanese restaurant. Japan military urgent speech, and the extraction coordinates are a Japanese restaurant. We believe this to be tied in with Barack Hussein Obama when he was in Manila, Philippines, and he coordinated the assassination attempt on President Donald John Trump, which, without question, Barack Obama is tied with this post talking about Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and how he's bypassing what they're doing. Okay. Then we go back to, let's go to 511. DEFCON does not refer to defense condition with regards to previous posts. Thoughts clear, now crystal clear. That was a previous post about DEFCON, which is, war operations. 237, what if North Korea had a miniature nuke payload delivery in 2004? What if North Korea had ICBM capability since 2009? What if the previous tests that failed were staged? Why would this be relevant? Who is involved and why? Biggest cover-up in our history. Uranium One, Canada, EU, Asia, and North Korea. Iran deal, Russian reset. Points us directly to Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton, the Uranium One deal, how the uranium got to Iran, how the uranium got to North Korea, and took us to when he tried to assassinate President Trump. If we go to the military timestamp, we have a photo, Air Force One, out the window of Air Force One, and that's it. So not so much military timestamp, but the regular timestamp in the capital letter account, very significant. And let me see if 510 tells us anything in addition, because we had the DEFCON conversation. I don't think it was this one. Yeah, DEFCON post here, one post here. POTUS tweets, posting missing Q in select word. This is, Q being proven back in the day. This is train you how to understand the correlation between posts and tweets. Future proves past. Wind the clock. The clock and the graphic are essential. Feel privileged. POTUS just spoke to this board. We serve at the pleasure of the president. So it tells the story about how this is connected. Missing posts regarding DEFCON 1 directly after POTUS alters tweets to 1 minute interval and adds Q. Use graphics learned. So this is a Q proof. And then on 511, Q goes on to say DEFCON does not refer to defense or condition with regards to previous posts. Thoughts clear. Little unclear. But what they're telling us is the confirmation and how POTUS talks to us and how POTUS continues to speak to us through the tweets, through his truths now primarily. Yes. So this was another post that President Trump put out earlier today. And this is the Genius Act is being threatened and undermined by the banks, and that is unacceptable. We are not going to allow it. The U.S. needs to get market structure done ASAP. Americans should earn more money on their money. The banks are hitting record profits, and we are not going to allow them to undermine our powerful crypto agenda that will end up going to China and other countries if we don't get the Clarity Act taken care of. The Genius Act was USA's first big step to make the United States the crypto capital of the world, and getting the Clarity Act done is the next step to finish the job and, most importantly, keep this big and powerful industry in our country. The banks should not be trying to undercut the Genius Act or hold the Clarity Act hostage. They need to make a good deal with the crypto industry because that's what's in the best interest of the American people. This industry cannot be taken from the people of America when it is so close to becoming truly successful. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. So this is the takedown of the power of the Khazarian mafia or Israel Zionists to control our country through banking and through media. And the banking is being dismantled. And this is very, very clear to both you and I. He has wiped out the Iranian Navy, completely wiped them out. This is Jim Ferguson breaking Iran threatens, hours later, facility destroyed. This morning on Iranian state television, let me blow this up here. They showed this as if they were way ahead of it. And Jim Ferguson is saying they aired a propaganda video showing what it claimed was an underground missile storage facility, a direct warning to the U.S. and Israel. Now reports indicated that that same facility has been struck and destroyed in coordinated U.S.-Israeli airstrikes. From televised threat to smoking crater, if confirmed, this marks a rapid intelligence to target, cycle, and a clear message. Exposed assets are vulnerable assets. This tempo of this war is accelerating. Stand by. Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what else I had to show you. The United States Navy has destroyed one of their submarines, Kilo-class submarine. This is a major blow to Iran's naval capability. Kilo-class submarines are among the most dangerous assets in Iran's fleet. They are diesel-electric attack submarines designed for stealth operations in shallow waters like the Persian Gulf and can deploy torpedoes and anti-ship missiles against naval forces and commercial shipping. Neutralizing one removes a serious threat to U.S. ships allied navies in the critical sea lanes that carry a massive share of the world's energy supply. This message is unmistakable. When American forces detect a hostile platform capable of striking U.S. assets or closing the Strait of Hormuz, it becomes a target. Control of the sea is one of the U.S. Navy's greatest strengths, and events like this show exactly why. The free flow of global commerce and safety of allied forces depends on it. So instead of Iran or Russia getting involved and saying you can't go to war with Iran like they used to do, like us of the X generation and the baby boomers remember the time when we couldn't go to war with Iran because of Russia or because of China. We couldn't go to war with Venezuela or with Cuba because of Russia or China. And all that's changing now. Why? Because of the capitulation tour that we have, so clearly seen. And this is important. So Iran officially declared a jihad against the United States, and this is important to know because this is why we have to stay safe at home, because there are assets here in the United States. We know that. We know that to be true. And if this has been declared a jihad against the U.S. and Israel, this is a formal religious decree. This is from No Limit Alpha, issued citing Quran 2239, granting divine permission to wage war against crusader aggression. If you heard Patrick Bet David talk, he's Iranian. He came over here, I believe, in '89. From Iran, made a heck of a life for himself here, great podcaster. And he said that the Ayatollah is like second to God. He is like, he is it. So when they wage a crusader aggression, this is not political rhetoric. This is a religious war declaration. Every Shia militia across Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen now has theological authorization to attack U.S. and Israeli targets. That's where the infiltration comes into play as well. Hezbollah, Houthis, Iraqi PMF, all activated under one fatwa. The document calls on the entire Islamic world to mobilize. This changes everything. A political war can be negotiated. A holy war cannot. We just entered the most dangerous phase of this conflict. If you're not paying attention, start now. Save this, share this. This is a moment if it escalated beyond return. Now, what to look out for? We have domestically, we have significant things happening in the United States cities by Somalis, by Muslims, by illegal immigrants that are stealing money from the taxpayer. We've had riots, we've had deaths, we've had riots against ICE that's trying to control this situation and get rid of these people that don't belong here. And we think that this might be enough of a reason for the military. And it hasn't been so far, with the exception of the National Guard on a few occasions. So what happens if this jihad is engaged here in the United States? That would call on our military to take care of the infiltration that the Democrats, funded, fueled, and shipped into our nation. So very significant happenings. But I will tell you this, my friends. This is, what we seem to be getting from Iran is expanding. I believe it's going to expose Barack Obama. What we're seeing with the Benghazi capture. And we're going to see the Epstein files, more of the Epstein files in Iran. We're going to see election interference. And we are absolutely going to be, we're going to have justice, my friends. Okay. We're going to have justice without question. And so that's about it for me tonight, my friends. It's been an interesting several days, mourning the loss of this good man, Brandon James Petrie. And and I been praying for him, and I guess all in divine timing, even though that timing certainly doesn't match with the things that we are hoping for in our world a lot of the times. Doc Chambers, I think, got beat. I think he got 11% of the vote, and Abbott got about 80%. Yeah, what's happening is epic. I agree. Yeah. 444 Sarge appears in the Sned shed. Semper Fidelis. Thank you, Edward. Yeah. I can see why my mom always told me that one day religion will be outlawed. Maybe it should. I think it will be. I think it will change. Um, um, I love a live dig with you, Dave. Thank you. Musically medicated. I mean, now I see when I see a post, like even if I just take you to an informational post I want to share with you, it's something about it. Sometimes it's the caps, sometimes it's a topic that just tells me there's more here that he wants to tell us. And you guys know how to do that, and you got the tools on Snedheads to get there quickly. That's how I'm able to do it so quickly, by the way. I go there every single time. And yeah, so yeah, folks, this is getting really, I mean, really, really interesting. I'm going to be with you tomorrow night, and I'm not sure about Thursday yet, but definitely be with you tomorrow night. And thank you for those who are donating to help me with my move, help me, keep the lights on here and keep moving forward. Um, you know, normally after I cover so many topics and take in so much information, I need a break over the weekend. But with what happened with James last week and how close I was to all that, was I really needed to step away, and I knew when I talked to Pete yesterday. Pete checked in with me, and talked to Diane as well. But I said to Pete, I said, I was thinking about going live because of the war and everything, but I said, I knew that the Sneds, they got this. Like, you guys got this. Like, you don't even need me. Like, it's fun to get together. It's fun to hear, what I have to say and some of the dives and things. But when we do what we're doing, the way that we do it, and the way we dive together, the way we share information, the way that we are digging for the truth, doesn't matter what happens. We've got this, and I'm so honored to be part of this community, and to know that, and to know that I can leave my little shop, and my customers are just going to come in and shop for themselves and leave the money, and because they know something's up, and that's the way I feel with all you. Am I doing a birthday show this year, Dave? Chris, I'm not sure. I'm moving right around the date of my birthday. So certainly I want to pick a day where I do both birthday show, which is March 11th. So thank you for that. And yeah, be still and know. Yeah. Um, yeah. What did I say? Did I say I think it will happen? What did I say I think will happen? Yeah, I know. I know this is all coming to fruition without question. BZ, thank you. Get some rest. Heal your soul through this difficult time. My prayers are with you. Thank you, my friends. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, my friends, for being here. Thank you, Velma. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow night, my friends, and be well, and much love to you. And pray for President Trump, pray for our troops, pray for Brandon James Petrie. Cheers to you, James. We miss you. Rest in peace. Be with the Lord. All right, my friends. Thank you, Whip and Spur. Appreciate you. Good night. Bye-bye.